It's hard to know where to even begin, but I guess the only way to start is to say, I never expected it to go like this. I mean, sure, we'd just lost our 2-year-old son, Ethan. 2 years old. A baby. The kind of grief that hits you in the gut and keeps on twisting day after day. But after a while, it got quieter. The pain didn't go away, but we learned to live with it, you know? At least I thought I was learning. But Laura, she never really got over it. Not the way I thought she would. It was around 2 a.m. when she woke me up, whispering my name like she was scared. I rubbed my eyes, trying to clear the sleep out of my head, and there she was sitting up in bed, staring straight ahead, her face pale as hell. "Babe, what the fuck? What's going on?" I said, my voice still heavy with sleep. I didn't expect what she said next. Not in a million years. "I saw him again. Ethan," she whispered, voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. My stomach dropped. Ethan. Our son had been dead for almost 6 months. What the hell was she talking about? I sat up, blinking at her, trying to make sense of her words. "Come on, Laura. We've been through this. You're grieving. You're just imagining things." But the look in her eyes, I couldn't ignore it. She wasn't just imagining it. She believed it. She didn't say anything at first, just sat there, hands shaking in her lap. The room was dark, but the moonlight coming through the window lit up her face, making her look almost distant. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Hell, maybe she had. I know it sounds crazy, but I saw him. He was standing there in the doorway just watching me, like he always used to. And then he smiled at me, she said, almost sounding relieved, as if what she was saying was comforting her. Laura. What the hell? I didn't know what to say. This wasn't normal. I mean, it wasn't right. I wasn't ready to face it. You're seeing things. Ethan's gone, babe. It's not him. But the thing is, I wasn't sure if I believed that. I mean, this is real life, right? It wasn't supposed to be like this. People don't come back from the dead. Right? That's what I kept telling myself. But then again, she looked so sure, so convinced. Like she was seeing something real. And I didn't know what to think. After a long pause, Laura looked up at me, her eyes full of that wild, desperate look I had seen before when we first lost Ethan. It was like she had to convince herself more than me. "You think I'm crazy, don't you?" she asked, voice cracking. "Holy shit. No, babe, it's just... I don't know. This is fucked up." I sighed, rubbing my face with both hands. I needed to get my head straight, but this wasn't helping. The next few days were like a damn blur. Laura kept saying she saw Ethan, always at night, always in the dark. She said he'd smile at her from across the room or stand by the door watching her. He wouldn't say anything, just watch, like he was waiting for something. And Laura? She'd talk to him like everything was normal. Like it was just a bad dream we were going through, and now our son was back. I tried to convince her to see a therapist, but she wouldn't. It was like she needed him there. She didn't want to hear what I had to say. So I started looking for signs, maybe to put my own mind at ease. I watched her closer. I checked the cameras in the house, looked at everything I could, but every time I found nothing. But then, things started to happen. Weird shit. Small stuff at first, like the way the baby monitor would go off in the middle of the night with no reason. Or the toys that were left in random spots around the house, even though we hadn't touched them in months. And sometimes, I'd swear I heard little footsteps at night. Tiny, almost ghostly footsteps. But when I'd check the house, nothing. One night, I came home late from work. The house was quiet, too quiet. I walked into the living room, and there she was, sitting on the couch, staring at the wall. Her eyes were empty, like she was, somewhere else. "Laura?" I asked, stepping closer. "What the hell is going on? Where's Ethan?" She turned to me slowly, a strange smile on her lips. But it wasn't a happy smile. It was that same smile she had when she first told me Ethan was back. "He's right here," she said softly, her voice barely a whisper. And when I looked, I saw nothing. Nothing. But she didn't look like she was lying. Oh shit, I didn't know what to think anymore. I mean, I knew she was grieving, but this wasn't just grief. This was something else. But that was just the beginning. Things were about to get a hell of a lot weirder. Alright, so I'm sitting here trying to make sense of everything, and it just doesn't make sense. Like, how the hell do you explain something like this to someone? Hell, how do you even explain it to yourself? At this point, I'm not even sure if I'm losing my mind or if Laura is. Hell, maybe we both are. The days started blending together. Laura was different. Her eyes, always glassy, like she wasn't fully here. She'd spend hours in Ethan's room, just sitting on the floor, staring at his toys, or she'd talk to herself in whispers I couldn't quite make out. Every time I'd walk in, she'd snap out of it like she didn't even know I was there. Sometimes she'd even laugh, a soft little giggle like Ethan was playing with her, and then came the night when things really started to unravel. I woke up in the middle of the night again. It wasn't like I was even dreaming, I just woke up. And there was this strange chill in the air. You know that feeling when something's just off? Like you can't quite put your finger on it, but everything feels wrong. Yeah, that. I looked over at Laura's side of the bed. She wasn't there. And for a second, I felt a wave of relief. Like, maybe she was just taking a walk around the house. But then I heard it. A giggle. What the fuck? I froze. I couldn't tell if it was real or if I was just hearing things. I listened harder, trying to hear where it was coming from. It was soft at first, just a little laugh, but then it turned into a full-on giggle, and it was coming from Ethan's room. My heart slammed in my chest. I couldn't breathe. I got up so fast I almost tripped over my own feet. I shoved open the door to Ethan's room, and there she was, Laura, sitting on the floor staring down at the empty crib, talking to nothing. I didn't know what to say. I stood there just staring at her. Holy shit. It was like she was in a trance, but her face was different, like she was smiling, but it wasn't the same smile. It was creepy as hell. A wide grin, almost unnatural, like she was enjoying something that didn't belong. "Laura?" My voice came out shaky, like a whisper, but it made her turn. Her head snapped around too quickly, and I swear, for a split second, her eyes weren't her own. They were dark, almost like she was possessed. "Ethan's here, babe," she said, her voice way too calm. "He wants to play." I didn't know what to do. I mean, what do you even do in a situation like this? So I tried to keep it together. "Laura, honey, please, this isn't healthy. We need help, okay? You're not seeing him. You're not." But she just stared at me. The kind of stare that drilled into you. Like she was seeing through me, not at me. "You don't get it," she said, almost sad. "He's just a little boy. He just wants to be with me, with us. He doesn't want to leave." And that was the part that made my stomach twist. That was the moment when I realized something wasn't just wrong. It was twisted. Something else was at play here. This wasn't just grief. I told her we needed to talk to a professional. I told her it wasn't real, that maybe she was hallucinating, and I tried my hardest to convince her. But she wouldn't hear it. She started getting defensive, getting angry, like really angry. She threw a pillow across the room and screamed at me to leave. I thought about calling someone, a doctor, a therapist, anyone who could tell me this was just part of the grieving process. But I kept hesitating. And that hesitation, it cost me. The next day when I was at work, I got a text from Laura. It was short, simple, but it made my heart stop. Ethan says goodbye. I think he's leaving. I stood there for a minute, staring at my phone, feeling the air leave my lungs. I wanted to call her, to tell her to stop whatever this was, but I couldn't. It was like something was holding me back. I got home late that night, hoping it was all just a bad dream, but when I walked in, the house was silent. Way too silent. I called out for her. No response. So I went to check on her in Ethan's room, and there she was, standing by the crib, holding a tiny teddy bear. She was whispering something to herself, her back turned to me. "Laura?" I called out, cautiously approaching her. "Babe, we need to talk." She didn't move at first, but then slowly she turned. Her face was pale, her eyes wide and distant, and in her hands she was clutching that teddy bear, like it was the most important thing in the world. "He's gone," she said quietly. "He's really gone now." I didn't know what the hell to say. Then, all at once, the lights flickered. The room seemed to get darker. The temperature dropped like someone opened a window in the dead of winter, and that's when I heard it. Soft, tiny laugh. A laugh that wasn't Laura's. I froze. Ethan was gone. Right? Wasn't he? What the hell was going on? I wish I could tell you that after that night things got better, but honestly, they only got worse. I don't even know where to start. Maybe it's because everything felt like it was spiraling out of control, like we were both drowning, and there was no one to pull us back up. The days kept dragging on, each one feeling heavier than the last. Laura was slipping further away, and I was holding on by a thread, hoping I'd wake up from this nightmare. But I didn't. She'd spend hours in Ethan's room again, talking to him, laughing with him. Sometimes I'd walk by and hear her telling him things I couldn't even understand. It was like she had her own world now, and I was just living in it, trying to get her to see reality. But the worst part was when the light started flickering again. And then the footsteps. Tiny little footsteps, soft like a child's, but they'd echo down the halls in the dead of night. I heard them so often, I couldn't tell if I was imagining it anymore. One night I decided enough was enough. I wasn't gonna sit around waiting for whatever the hell this was to take me to. I grabbed the keys to the car, and I told Laura I was going to get help. I didn't care what it took. She needed help, and so did I. This was beyond therapy now. This was something else. But as soon as I stepped into the hallway, I heard her voice. "Where are you going?" she asked. It wasn't Laura's voice. It sounded like her, but it wasn't. I turned slowly, and there she was, standing in the doorway. To Ethan's room, the shadows around her so thick I could barely see her face. But I saw enough. Her eyes were dark, like something inside of her had switched. And in her arms, she was holding something. I could barely breathe when I realized what it was. It was the teddy bear. It wasn't right anymore. It looked wrong, like it had been burned, torn. And it was sticky. Dark red, sticky. My stomach turned, and my mouth went dry. I felt like I was choking. Laura. "What the hell is going on?" I managed to whisper. Her lips curled into a smile, but it wasn't a smile I recognized. It was twisted. "He's still here, you know. Ethan's with me. You can't take him from me." My heart was racing. I backed away slowly, but she stepped forward, closer. And that's when I realized she wasn't really her anymore. I don't know how to explain it, but something inside of her wasn't her. It was like something had crawled into her skin and was pretending to be her. I ran. I didn't know what else to do. I got to the door, yanked it open, and before I could even get out, I heard her voice again. "Don't leave me. Ethan doesn't want to be alone. He's so lonely." I couldn't take it. I slammed the door and bolted to my car. I didn't care about the rain or how fast I was driving. I just had to get away. I spent the night at a hotel, but that didn't make the horror stop. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was Laura's face. That thing that wasn't her. The next day, I came home, hoping to find everything normal again, like it had all been some kind of bad dream. But when I walked in, I could hear it. The laughter. It was in Ethan's room again. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shout, "This isn't real!" But I couldn't. I just stood there in the doorway, frozen. And then, the thing I dreaded happened. I saw it. Ethan was standing there. Or something that looked like him. His little face, grinning, up at me, eyes empty. Empty in a way that no child's eyes should be. It wasn't my son, but it looked like him. I felt a cold sweat break out across my back, but I couldn't move. And then I heard Laura's voice. "It's not too late. He doesn't want to be alone, love. Come back." I was done. I couldn't do this anymore. I wasn't strong enough to fight it, whatever it was. So I did the only thing I could think of. I left. I packed my things and I didn't look back. I haven't seen Laura since. I don't know if she's still there, in that house, or if whatever took her is still using her to, I don't know, drag me back. All I know is this. I don't want to know. I can't go back. I can't. Sometimes late at night when the wind howls outside or the lights flicker for no reason, I hear that laugh, the soft, childlike giggle. And I wonder, is it really Ethan? Or is it something else, something pretending to be him? I'll never know, but I won't be around to find out. I've learned one thing for sure. When someone you love dies and then comes back, it's never for the reason you think, and I don't think I'll ever sleep soundly again.